Committee Chairman Ed McConnell says there was surprise when the city was notified prior to the meeting that Tharaldson Ethanol is protesting the zoning change. The ethanol plant is near where that soybean facility would be built.
They were concerned that they were going to lose corn acres to soybean acres. So they thought that if they could get the plant farther away from their base of operations, that they wouldn't lose their local acreage.
Todd McMichael, who has 400 acres of corn and soybean on his Cass County farm, says there's no reason for Tharaldson to protest that project.
Corn is still king. You're not going to change your crop rotation. Corn is still going to be your moneymaker, and use your soybeans as basically as a cash flow crop.
Since Tharaldson owns more than 20% of the adjacent land, the company claims city ordinance requires a supermajority vote to pass a zoning change, something some say would prevent construction of the soybean crushing plant. An oil worker from Dickinson says he wants to send Senator John Hoeven back home. Riley Kuntz has filed paperwork to challenge Hoeven in the Republican primary in June. Hoeven was endorsed as the Republican Party candidate for U.S. Senate during the party convention earlier this month, narrowly defeating a challenge by State Representative Rick Becker of Bismarck. According to his campaign page on Facebook, Kuntz was an active member of Audit the Swamp and a delegate at the 2018 Republican convention. The North Dakota primary election will be held June 14th. A judge has ruled that the trial of 3 fired Minneapolis police officers charged with aiding and abetting George Floyd's killing will not be live-streamed. Hennepin County Judge Peter Cahill cited the threat of COVID-19 to allow live streaming of last year's murder trial of Derek Chauvin in Floyd's death. He said in his new order that the pandemic has not receded to the point where he can override the other officers' objections to live audio-visual coverage. The trial is set to begin June 13th. Becoming partly sunny, and we should see a high of about 42 this afternoon. Then overnight, 28, partly cloudy. We will be partly sunny tomorrow. KFGO meteorologist Tom Szymanski is expecting 49. 52 cloudy, chance of light rain on Thursday, and 54 clouds Friday, another chance of light rain. Fargo-Moorhead, 30. Paul Juergens, News Radio, KFGO.
Well, hope you didn't blink. Like half hour ago, the sun popped out for, 5 minutes? Now I'm in a windowless studio, so I guess I better have checked before I come. I don't think it's out. You got a better view from that side of the room, don't you? Eric Johnson's my producer. I'm Tyler Axon. It's your host.
I'd say based on looking at the entryway through 3 windows, it looks partly cloudy.
Partly cloudy. We're back. That whole doom and gloom, but I hope you enjoyed it while it lasts. I'm looking at the forecast. We thought, well, maybe tomorrow will be a little partly sunny. You can join the conversation. This whole first half hour, you mute this microphone your cell phone. Anything you want to talk about, whether it's a continuation of Elon Musk, the approval ratings of the president in the tank, North Dakota in particular, being one of the worst when it comes to this president's approval rating. I saw that on the morning consult. I do want to chat about that a little bit later on, or now if you want to get it out of your chest and explain to me why North Dakota is in I think the second to worst for President Biden's approval rating. I think only behind West Virginia. Give me your reasons. 35270. We're broadcasting from the Gunderson-sponsored KFGO studio, which I want to give you some reminders out here. Before we get rolling, I completely forget. You're all invited to a couple of things this Thursday. Let's start there. Coffee with KFGO, that's brought to you by Vision Ford. We're going to be over in Horace. I'm stopping out for a little bit. I hear that they're known for the homemade caramel and cinnamon rolls at the Grove in Horace. That's going to be from 7 to 10 a.m. this Thursday. And then you know what? That night, clear your calendar. The NFL draft's going to be kicking off, and we're throwing a little party over there as well at the Hi-Ho Burger, South 25th Street. We're going to be there for a little while. I know that Couch Potato Radio, Derek Hansen, is going to be over the broadcasting. We'll be checking in. I think the party starts at 4 o'clock. I'll get over there about 5:15. As quickly as I can from this room, but I'd love to see you there. Wearing whatever jersey or sport attire from your NFL team. I'll be wearing the Panthers gear. and I probably won't be too cheerful until we figure out what happens at the number 6 pick. But that's at High Hole on Thursday night, Thursday morning coffee. So that's a couple of things you can join us at. But one thing that you heard earlier today that I didn't get a chance to just mention either, and I told you if I don't do it now, I'm afraid that I'm going to forget, and I don't want to be getting in trouble because it's Mother's Day coming up, and there's Messages for Mom, sponsored by Kfgo, or brought to you by Kfgo, and I want to thank our sponsors, Carol Widman's Candy, Hair Success Salon, and a spa, and, of course, the Minneapolis Market. You can go check them out in West Acres. It's simple. You want to leave a message for your mom and hear it right over here, these very airwaves of 790 AM, 94.1 or 104.7 FM. All I got to do is write this number down. You call, you leave your message. Make it heartfelt. 701-446-8151. You call, you listen to that message. I think from It Takes Two, that's Amy and JJ. You can leave your thoughts there, your well wishes for your mother, your grandmother, all that. That's coming up sooner than you probably expect. So, fellas, don't be delaying. Either make that phone call or stop at those great sponsors and buy those gifts today. 35270, that's the text club. Somebody's breaking that it's sunny in Jamestown. I hope that means it's on its way because we've had very, very little sun. And every little bit, even that 5 minutes that we had, just a glimmer here, was well appreciated. In fact, you can send in your conditions out there. We've got a number of things that we're going to be bringing to you from Western North Dakota because, folks, I mean, they're in a tough spot out there. And on this side of the state, and I said this yesterday, I think it showed when neighbors were in need, we were able to answer that call. Whether that was people volunteering locally in Crookston, Grand Forks, some of the other spots along the river here, but also the fact that Fargo, I think once again, and you'll have to refresh my memory of when the last time this did take place, because I don't believe it's the first, that Fargo was able to help out Valley City and send those sandbags that we have had here for quite some time. So again, when we think about that neighbors in need and being able to answer that call, they need us out west. And I know that the men and women for the electric cooperatives are out there hour after hour trying as best they can to get power restored to many of those people out there. But when you're hearing some of the reports, and we'll get the latest from Josh Kramer here in about 20 minutes' time, of some people getting the notices that it might be May 6th that they're going to have their power restored. That's a long time, folks, and you're well aware of that when you're looking at the calendar right now, and it's April 26th. So I'm curious if there's anything that we can do from this area to help them out. And I know one of the individuals that's out there taking those photos is a farmer out there and a friend of mine. I saw some of the photos that he was sharing yesterday when they're finally able to get out of the farmstead, take some photos of those snapped power lines, seeing some of the drifts that are still out there. You know that it hasn't exactly warmed up to take care of some of that. So they're still trying to dig out in Western North Dakota. And you know what? Just because they're on that side doesn't mean they're not family and they're not friends. And in fact, many of you listening might have originated from that part of the state. So certainly there's been a lot of people wanting to learn more about it, and we're going to try to do that here in just a little bit with those two individuals. And then we're heading to Castleton again. You know, I'm proud of the fact that KFGO was the one to break this story, and then on Afternoons Live, we're the first to get the sides on to tell you why they were for and mainly against this proposal for the soybean plant in Castleton. And the thing that keeps coming back is the concern on placement, on location, on what it might mean for the community and the city itself, because it's butting up right on that border. We've talked about that. If you miss those conversations, they're all available wherever you get your podcasts. And that's at kfgo.com. That's on your Spotify. That's on your iTunes. Wherever it is, you can look up those concerned citizens of Castleton. Hear their comments earlier on in this process. Now, that was from the city side. Now we're hearing from someone in the industry as well. You have the chief operating officer at Thurlton Ethanol. That, of course, is just on the other side, really, of this plot that is being proposed for the soybean plant. And Ryan Thorpe writing a letter to the city of Castleton expressing their opposition to this. And as I read it in there, albeit a very brief letter, it certainly seems to me that it's about location again. But I'm going to ask about the timing. So if Ryan's listening right now, the timing of your letter of opposition, I mean, We've been discussing that on this program for a long time. So the timing was one. And I'm curious, is it just location, or are there other factors that really said, all right, this is it. I've got to pen this letter, and then I'm showing up to the meeting tonight. So I think there's a lot of questions out there. This situation is not isolated to Castleton. I mean, certainly this project is. And, maybe that's not fair either, because there's farmers in the area looking at this saying, look, great, another spot for me to bring my commodity, soybeans. But this is one of the three that we've been really following along here on Afternoons Live. We've got the Castleton, where we started. We talked about the CO2 pipeline and the Summit carbon capture and some of the landowners' concern there, mostly about eminent domain. The fact that you've got counties coming out saying we are opposed to this, albeit it might be symbolic, is still putting their stake in the ground saying we do not want this to be forced upon us. And then you've got what's going on up in Grand Forks. And we've had the conversation multiple times with the folks up there about concerns on location, about the immediate impacts of those that called that area home. So these three projects, albeit separate, all cross and mold and touch each other at some point, given just the nature of the industries of which they rely on. Agriculture, energy. So we're going to be talking with Ryan about that. If you have questions, you can send those in to 35270. In fact, I'm getting some of those right now. Afternoons Live, we're just getting started. I'm Tyler Axis. I'm going to get you caught up with some of these messages. I'll come back to your thoughts in the text club. You can also call me. It's all on the table until that 2:30. Then we'll head on out and get you the latest from Western North Dakota. KFGO time is 2:19. Don't go anywhere. In Castleton, the Thoroldson decision to oppose the soybean, and they're mostly questions for Mr. Thorpe, who's going to be joining us. I'm looking forward to the conversation. I'll save those, so I appreciate it. You can continue to send them in. I'm not going to address them now because they're all addressed to him. So I just wanting to, that's my wink and nod to you through these airwaves, that I'm receiving them, and I will ask those when that does present itself as an opportunity. Other message, Tyler, is Grand Forks crazy having a Chinese company near an Air Force base? The Chinese steal information from our country all the time. They probably think we are pretty stupid for letting them come here. The conversations that we've had with the folks up in Grand Forks have been, there's been a touch of that in it. I'm not going to ignore that. But mostly where their concerns are coming from is the impacts. I mean, the fact that I'm having to reach out to the Canadian side and hoping that somebody will speak to it when it comes to runoff of that water. You've got that wet corn mill, and we've broke down the numbers for you in our previous conversations. Again, wherever you get your podcast, if you missed those, of how much is going in, how much they said that they could, filter out, clean up themselves, and then, where does the leftover go? And there's fear that it's going to go right into the red, and, we all know where that ends up. And if there's been anything that's been a proven factor time and time again, as our fine friends from the north, and this is not a cheap shot, this is just how it has been very particular and very strict on what they allow on the water situation if it does impact Canada. Having that addition into all the other questions that have come in about the water usage, about the wastewater that comes out, the smell, all of that. How much did North Dakota itself promise through Burgum's office, through the Prairie Dog Initiative, through all these other means to entice this company? Who shook whose hand behind what closed door before you and I and everyone else that's actually directly impacted in that area of the Faulkner Township and the city of Grand Forks knew about it? Now, that's one of the themes and one of the consistencies in everything we're touching on here from all these three projects is the late notification for those that call it their place home. I mean, we're talking about people that have the farmland that's going to be over a pipeline of which they're concerned about, what am I going to get? What's in it for me as far as letting you cross this line? I've already invested in the drain tile. Are you going to go and you're going to promise me what if you have to drill and go through that? The celebration has happened prior to the completion. And again, I keep refraining this, and if you're tired of hearing it, you're going to hear it at least one more time. It's the approach from this administration saying, look what we're doing for you. And they never took the time to come and ask, what are we doing to you? And how can we mitigate that? How can we make you be a partner in this to where we'll answer your questions up front? Instead of really feeling like we've already established all of this together, all these power players, and then, you know what, we're going to get this so far along into the process that it's going to be very damn difficult for you to stop anything. Because we're getting ours. We want to have our stake in the ground and say, look, this was us. We brought this to you. And then just leave that project to let it be, do its work, and not really invest or ask the questions and time and commitment into those at the coffee table, in the cafes, at their own homes, all of that. And that is the one consistent that has just bothered the bejesus out of me since this all started. It's coming after the fact. And people are scratching their heads. I mean, you're asking, what's wrong with Grand Forks? I think if you ask the average citizen in Grand Forks, not everyone is on the same page. Then you think about communities like Castleton. I get it. Where I come from, Castleton feels like a big town. Grew up in a town of 400. I'm not sure exactly what Castleton's population is now. But the thing is, it's small enough to where everybody still pretty much knows everybody. Sure, there's new faces because it's growing. It is growing. I mean, if you go to the northern side of Castleton, you can see it around the school district. But that intimacy of a small town and the tensions that's now being forced upon them because of decisions that seemingly have been put onto them is wrong. And that's where I keep coming back to, why in the world did nobody sit down, have that town hall meeting or whatever it might have been before it got to this? But I also think it is fair to ask, when you've got a major industry and this ethanol plant right next door, why do it take so long to get to this point to come out and say your piece also? Because others were carrying that water for quite some time, and the concerned citizens, they were out there. They had the yard signs. They were holding conversations on these airwaves and within the city of Castle. They were out there doing some work. It shouldn't have been forced upon them to do. That's where I come from. 237-5948, that's the Laney studio line. You can also text in at 35270. Here, when we come back, Rusty Halverson, he's back, our friend. We're going to get an ag report. I know that there was an individual, a farmer down in south in the Breckenridge area that messaged me, albeit acknowledged that the source he was sending me was from a right-wing blog. But I appreciate it because it puts things on my radar. Is some of the rail situation. In that particular case, it was Union Pacific, which, of course, you don't see much of, if any at all here. But when it comes to fertilizer, well, you know what? It wasn't very long ago when we had concerns about rail movement, because at the time we're moving a heck of a lot of oil by rail. Have we cleaned that up? Because we got a supply chain that's still there. Rusty's going to give us all that. And then we're heading west. Josh Kramer, he's a friend of mine, and you know what? He's pretty good at what he does when it comes to the rural electric cooperatives. What's the latest? How many people are still without power? What can we do, if anything, on the eastern side of the state to help out, whether it's financially, donations, all of that's on the table. If you have a question on a particular area or what you can do, you can send those in, and I'll ask him right after this. I'm Tyler Axis. Afternoons Live is rolling on a Tuesday afternoon. You got to locked in at 790 AM, 94.1 and 104.7 FM, KFGO.
Definitions are unclear.
Maybe I'm slow, but could a wink across a crowded bar room be a romantic or sexual advance? Does it require a hug or a personal touch? Is it a pickup line?
Bill Werner reporting.
Partly sunny this afternoon. We should approach about 42 for our high. Overnight, partly cloudy and 28. Tomorrow, near 49, a partly sunny day. For Thursday, KFGO meteorologist Tom Shemansky has a chance of light rain in his forecast, cloudy otherwise, and 52. Also a rain chance for Friday, 54. And Saturday, windy, some rain possible, 50. Sunday, areas of light rain, breezy, and only 44. Fargo-Moorhead, it is partly sunny, 31. Paul Juergens, News Radio, KFGO.
Been a while since we've heard the old cash jingle of Rusty Cage. Been a while since you've heard Rusty Halverson on Afternoons Live. How you doing, pal?
I'm doing okay.
Good.
Doing
Good to have
okay.
you back, my friend.
Thank you. Good to be back.
I think everyone around here realized just exactly how much weight you're carrying around. They were running around, and they were...
It only takes like 5 of us to do Rusty's work.
Yeah.
So good to have you back, my friend.
It's good to be back.
Yeah.
It's good to be back.
Yeah, I was saying earlier that I had a friend, a farming friend down in the southern part of the listening area, send me an article about rail the other week. He goes, look, preface, this is a right-wing blog. I get it, but is there anything to this? I asked Dan Wogslin with the Grain Growers Association last week about it. He goes, well, not here right now, but just rail and transportation issues still there.
In general. Yeah, absolutely. Nationwide. Nationwide. In fact, today, the Surface Transportation Board hosted an emergency hearing. They're going to have a hearing. They had it today. They're going to have another one tomorrow to make sure they hear from all the stakeholders regarding recent rail service and problems that we've seen in the industry for about the past 5 months. Agriculture, livestock, fertilizer, all sorts of different industries seeing their rail service not up to what they'd like it to be. Now, National Grain and Feed Association President and CEO Michael Seifert testified earlier today about some of the delays that grain elevators are experiencing. Now, the North Dakota Grain Dealers Association did file a complaint to the STB last week, Tyler, and they believe the reasons for these problems are related to railroad labor shortages, and that was repeated very often during today's hearing.
That's what I was asked. Is this labor? So it is. Is it still a federal requirement to have a 2-man crew? Do you know?
I don't know.
I'll have to check that out because I know that there was an attempt both locally and I think federally to eliminate that requirement. Maybe some of the rail boys and girls are listening. 35270. Is that still a federal requirement? It ought to be. You know, I mean, because we've seen some of the incidences where you've had to, unfortunately, have one of those crew going on pin a train. But I don't know because I think about labor because that'll be the next thing. Well, if we didn't have this requirement of 2-person, we could have somebody on another one is what I could foresee happening. I wouldn't agree with it. I wouldn't want that, but I was curious.
Now, aside from labor, the port situation came up today. The fact that we're trying to get these ports up and running 24/7, get more product moved. Well, you still need the rail to get all those shipments inbound to the middle of the country.
Yeah, you think about you got the rail labor shortage, you got the trucker shortage. I mean, there's a reason why things aren't getting there on a timely fashion. And I feel for those. Trains Magazine. I had never heard of the thing.
Yeah,
I have a nephew that might be interested. I wonder what kind of information they have there. But that caught my attention. Rusty, it's good to have you back, man.
Yeah,
you come back
bet.
next hour.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely.
All right, Rusty Alverson, him, Sarah Heinrich, best in the biz, KFGO.com. Let's click on that agriculture tab. Get you caught up with CBS National News headlines when we come back. Josh Kramer, North Dakota Association of Rural Electric Cooperatives. What's the latest out in western North Dakota? He'll give us an update right after this. late spring storms that we just keep seeing over and over. And unfortunately, when I'm hearing Too Tall Tom Szymanski talk about this pattern that just doesn't seem to want to let up, it makes it even more difficult to clean up and get things restored. One of that being power. And as reported here over the last couple of days, that there's thousands that have been without power, and some of them might be without for quite some time. And I was just curious, what's the update? Is there anything we could do on the eastern side to help out? And to have that conversation, I turn to Josh Kramer. He is with the North Dakota Association of Rural Electric Cooperatives. In fact, the executive vice president and general manager. Josh, welcome back to Afternoons Live, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing well, Tyler. Thank you for having me on today. Appreciate it.
It's been a busy time for the crews and the people that are part of your association. I'm just curious. We've had a day and a half now. I hear progress is being made, but what's the situation out in western North Dakota?
Yeah, progress is being made, but it's slow going. I think we'd obviously would love to have everybody up and running as soon as we can, but situation's still kind of tough out there. Lots of snow to get through. I think, but I do think that I think the progress that's been made has been substantial. A lot of folks have gotten back online, but yeah, there's going to be some that maybe be without power for a few days to several days. But the good news is that the troops are on the ground. A lot of the cooperatives from the other parts of the state that weren't affected have sent line crews. Supplies have already been sent and are on site. So that's all there or en route. But the challenge is getting to those down lines and getting them restored. I think a lot of the county roads, the township roads, are still not drivable. So there's cooperatives that have they're using UAVs to kind of go out and do the full line patrol and see what damage is out there. But yeah, the restoration has started. It's just we don't know to what extent for a couple of those cooperatives.
It sounds to me the biggest challenge then is physically getting to the areas that men and women need to get to get this power back on. I mean, the amount of snow, just the conditions. Is that a correct assessment? It's the conditions on the ground that's the biggest challenge?
Correct. Yep. I mean, and the magnitude of the scale of the poles that are down. There's some cooperatives with over 1,000 poles down. So that that takes time, but also to get there with the right equipment. To reset those poles and and the conditions are a challenge. It's better when it's not muddy and the snow is melting and it creates a mess for those line crews that are resetting the poles. But there's contractors on site, there's line crews on site, and the manpower's there. It's just going to take time to physically get to some of those places.
Yeah, I have to imagine number 2 on that list as far as challenges would go is just the sheer supply. Hey, when you think about having to replace over 1,000 poles just for one co-op alone, is the system ready to handle that load to get the poles out there to get this done in a timely fashion? Can you walk me through that, Josh?
Yeah, I mean, so our cooperatives plan for this sort of thing. Okay. There were supply chain issues in getting electric supplies prior. So this exasperates it a little bit, but each cooperative keeps a good stock of emergency supplies, and then also the electric suppliers have a stock that they set aside for these type of situations, which occur across the country. Whether it be a snowstorm or a hurricane or a tornado, there's a certain amount of equipment that's set aside. But nonetheless, our industry is experiencing supply chain challenges like many others, and it's gonna probably change construction work plans for the summer, or maybe even longer, because a lot of the stuff that was pre-bought for that is being used for this emergency type situation.
Josh, do we have an update of the number, just generally speaking, an estimate to how many people are still without as of right now?
I don't have an exact estimate on the amount of people. I will say I think there's one of the cooperatives, end of the day, McKinsey Electric, reported that they had 83 outages still, about 500 different meters. Montreal, I think, was about 45% of their system restored. So again, it's the progress is being made, but I don't have the exact numbers. It's changing. By the end of the day, it'll be a complete different number.
Yeah. Well, and it'll be a complete different number on the positive side. For those, which is good. Josh, what are the things that we've been talking about here on the eastern side. You know that we had tornado warnings while the blizzard warning was over on the western side, and we had torrential rain in spots. And one thing that I was saying, the neighbors needed help when we answered the call, and I think there's some of that same sentiment on this side of the state that's kind of wondering, is there anything we could do? I'm sitting in Fargo, and I live north of Fargo. We've been okay. We got power. We're doing fine where I call home. Is there anything that people are looking for help? I mean, donations, or hey, look, the best thing that you've heard, the best thing I heard so far is the fact that you've got men and women from out here in some of these RECs they packed up. They're spending time out there. Have you heard anything that we could do to help?
Right. In our business, it's not like we can have a lot of volunteers. So, but I'm sure there are things that folks can do and maybe donate to the emergency service centers in those counties. But directly to the co-op, it's a highly skilled profession, and it's dangerous work. But I think just the patience that we've been leveraged by everybody has been outstanding, and the support for our co-ops. It's amazing to read some of the social media posts, and people understand that they've been out of power now for a few days, and they're still very complimentary, and they understand the level of work that needs to happen to get there. And the thing is, the weather doesn't discriminate, and there's a chance that in the future it'll be somewhere in the eastern part of the state, and this favor will be repaired or given back.
Yeah.
So.
Josh Kramer is our guest, Executive Vice President, General Manager, North Dakota Association of Rural Electric Cooperatives. Supply chain, you mentioned, look, every industry that's been impacted. How about workforce when it comes to just not this event, but just general? Are rural electric cooperatives able to find the workforce to obviously keep the power on?
Yeah, it's getting tight. Like every industry, every profession, it's harder to find, a tremendous amount of applicants. But at the same time, I think people really do appreciate working for the cooperatives. We're here to stay. We're in a lot of the communities, and it's a good job. And I think that's one of the things that when we have an outage, we have line workers in those communities already, and that's a big thing when it comes to and I shouldn't say just line workers, but folks with enough trained skills to be able to kind of put things back together. Or the other thing that we have is we rely on our cooperative network. And a cooperative doesn't only have their line crews and employees; they lean on those from the surrounding areas, and that's something that is priceless.
Yeah. Is there anything else you want to get out? I appreciated the update here in the afternoon, just knowing that, hey, we're making progress, and hearing that people on the ground that are directly impacted, that the patience is there, and they understand that people out there working as best they can, which is, quite frankly, what I think we all need to expect at this time. What did I miss as far as you just got to get this out so everybody knows that peace of mind before I let you go, Josh?
Yeah, some of the standard things. If a member does see a down line, always contact the co-op and let them know. There are things that could be missed. If you have eyes on something that looks like a hazard, it probably is. So just report it and be kind of communicate with the co-op if there are questions that you have or things that look out of place. But I think the other thing to really want to communicate is our co-ops, they train for these sort of things, right? They have plans that will help them in when this stuff happens. So it isn't like, a disaster happens and now what do we do? They have action plans that get put into place and pre-approved contractors and suppliers. So on short notice they can put in the call and get the people and the equipment to head in the right direction. And I think that's very important and goes to kind of to the level of support for our association and our cooperatives have for each other, because this is more than likely going to be a FEMA disaster, and we're going to ask FEMA to help make some of these cooperatives whole again, and to do that we have to file the necessary paperwork and to have a lot of these plans in place prior to some of these emergency disaster situations that happen.
Well, and I was glad to see, albeit in my opinion a little bit later than necessary, that Governor Burgum did put out a declaration of emergency last night. But I won't pull you into that. It was a step that was necessary. And that peace of mind, the preparedness that you just shared, gives us a lot of ease as well, Josh. I'm going to let you go, my friend. I appreciate the update, and we'll talk again soon, all right?
Anytime. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, you take care. Yep. Josh Kramer, he is with the North Dakota Association of Rural Electric Cooperatives, just giving an update on our neighbors out to the west. Got to get you an update on the weather. Too Tall Tom Schmancy will do that. Messages pouring in to 35270. All the thing from Biden's approval to the Castleton ethanol situation when it comes to them opposing the soybean proposal. We'll get to all of that and more coming up right after this. Hey, don't let me forget a little bit later on. I had these for a little while now, but time's ticking, and on Saturday there's an event going on, celebration of Neil Diamond. So if you're a Neil Diamond fan, I'm going to tell you how you can win a pair during today's afternoon's live. That's coming up a little bit later on. I made the passing comment. People say, "Oh, you're just picking a fight, Tyler, it's because you're angry at him," and it's not the case. But it was one of your fellow listeners yesterday wondering where Doug Burgum's been during this historic weather event, the blizzard that dropped feet of snow upon feet of snow out in western North Dakota. And we asked that question on these airwaves because you've had it wasn't a secret as to what was happening. It wasn't as though last night all of a sudden, we just finally realized how devastating this weather event was with how many thousands of people were without power. But albeit later than what I think it should have been, that declaration was issued last night about the emergency situation that is and was upon us when it comes to the statewide declaration. So what that's going to do because people are wondering when I asked about Biden's poll numbers, and we will get into that a little bit later on, because it stands out to me that of the 50 states, North Dakota gives Joe Biden the second worst approval rating. I mean, we're tied for second. I think it's us and like Nevada or something, but West Virginia being the worst. And I'd asked, why? Give me reasons. Why North Dakota has such an unfavorable view of the administration? And we'll get into that. But one thing he cannot deny is the fact that if an emergency is declared, he's been pretty quick to establish that, yes, in fact, there is one and help's on the way. Those federal dollars that you and I pay in, it's coming back. And I have no doubts, because of the coverage that has been done, rightfully so, that the word's out. I mean, hell, we asked our delegation asked the IRS to delay your tax deadline because of the storm that happened the week prior to the one that hit this weekend. And all I did was accumulate. And this one was, I think, albeit not as widespread, but far worse for members on that western side. So I don't understand why it took so long, but it happened. It was the right move. I just wish it would have come just a little bit more quickly. We'll get you caught up at CBS National News. We're going to stay in western North Dakota when we come back. Tyler Staffslean's a farmer out there. I saw the photos he shared. We'll ask him an update on his situation. How's the dig out going? That's coming up right here on KFGO.
KFGO News, Fargo-Moorhead 33 with some sunshine. I'm Paul Juergens. Attorney General Keith Ellison has filed a lawsuit against 4 Utah solar panel sales companies for scamming and deceiving Minnesota homeowners. Ellison says the companies went door-to-door using high-pressure sales tactics and didn't follow through.
Minnesotans stepping up and telling us something was wrong. This is a courageous thing to do, and you may think it's only happening to you, but it might be happening to a whole lot of other people, so it's important to call.
Ellison says victims of the scam were tricked into signing binding contracts for solar panels costing up to $55,000. One woman says she at first thought she was dealing with XL Energy. An oil worker from Dickinson says he will challenge Senator Hoeven in the primary. Riley Kuntz has filed paperwork to challenge Hoeven in June. Hoeven was endorsed as the Republican candidate for U.S. Senate during the party convention earlier this month. He narrowly defeated a challenge from State Representative Rick Beckler of Bismarck. According to his campaign page on Facebook, Kuntz was an active member of Audit the Swamp and a delegate at the 2018 Republican convention. The primary will be held on June 14th. A judge has ruled that the trial of 3 fired Minneapolis police officers charged with aiding and abetting George Floyd's killing will not be live-streamed. Hennepin County Judge Peter Cahill cited the threat of COVID-19 to allow live streaming of last year's murder trial of Derek Chauvin and Floyd's death. He said in his order that the pandemic has not proceeded to the point where he could override the other officers' objections to live audio-visual coverage. The trial is set for June. President Biden plans to speak at a memorial service in Minneapolis on Sunday for former Vice President Walter Mondale, who died last April at age 93. The president has described Mondale as a dear friend and mentor and one of the country's most dedicated patriots and public servants. Other speakers include Governor Walz, Senators Klobuchar and Smith, and presidential historian John Meacham. Admission to the service, which was delayed by the pandemic, is by invitation only, but it will be live-streamed. KFGO Weather Center forecast. We're seeing some sun now, and meteorologist Tom Shabatsky is expecting a high of about 42 or so this afternoon. Partly cloudy overnight, 28. 49, partly sunny tomorrow. 33, Paul Juergens News Radio, KFGO.
We caught up with Josh Kramer about the power situation for those out in western North Dakota. I want to know how the dig out is going on for all those farmers and, quite frankly, the ranchers out there that, I think if you're asking, wanted some precipitation, but, boy, to get it like this, we'll find out from one of those farmers, Tyler Stassling. He has a farm out by Makoti, North Dakota. He joins us right now, a friend of mine. Tyler, how are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Thinking about all you fine folks out there and the hell you've been through over the last couple of weeks when it comes to just the feet of snow you've gotten. Have you been able to get on out? I saw some photos of just some of the surroundings out there. Give me an update. How are things going as far as getting out and around?
Sure. Well, yesterday I got out finally here. The roads were cleared enough, and I just kind of wanted to survey the damage and see kind of what the electrical situation looked like. I've been without power since 5 o'clock on Saturday. So we're able to get out and around now anyway.
Have you been notified of when that power might come back? I know that everyone's out there working around the clock. We had the rural electric cooperatives on saying, look, I mean, we had people from all over the state, even the spots not impacted, coming out. But I've heard of some people getting the notification. It might be as late as May 6th. I'm just curious, have you been notified of when you can expect yours back?
I haven't. I've been paying attention to the local cooperative's website, and they've essentially been saying they're working as fast as they can, but they really don't have estimates. I have a neighbor who had heard from someone, and I'm hoping that it was a pessimistic guess, but he was told maybe 3 weeks. Now, again, I'm hoping that was pessimistic, but I'm prepared for a long-term outage anyway.
Talk about that preparation. I mean, I know the fine farmers and ranchers out there, they've got some of the equipment, but walk people through, because there's some that were questioning, how could you get by? I mean, if it's 3 weeks, you think about the fridge. I know there's generators. So how are you going to get by there, Tyler, if you have to?
Well, just obviously living in a relatively rural area, we experience this every once in a while where we have relatively long-term power outages. So most farmers that I know have rather large generators. I have a PTO-driven generator. So I had my tractor sitting with the PTO generator hooked on it there on Saturday expecting this to happen. You could see it coming. And I also put like a relatively large fuel tank next to that tractor so I can continually feed it. But that tractor has been idling since Saturday afternoon, and you hope that your equipment is up to the task, and so far it has been. But right now it's just keeping that tractor fueled, and I'm starting to wonder how I'm going to get more fuel to it, because after the rain came and the power went out, we ended up with a foot or more of snow, which blew in around the tractor, and I've got about an 8-foot snowbank. I can't even get that fuel trailer out of there. So those are the logistics we're dealing with right now.
It just sounds miserable. I'm looking at right now in Fargo here, we're sitting at about 35 degrees. We got a little overcast, but you got snow and we don't. Do you have an update as far as, I mean, it's been cold out there, so you got to keep that house heated. I know you've got a couple of beautiful young kids. Have you been able to entertain them as best you can to get them by?
Yeah, we certainly have. It, the kids actually kind of find this thing a little bit fun when mom and dad are both around all the time. And, usually my wife has been working from home the last few days because, believe it or not, we have been able to maintain an internet connection with that generator. So, but the house is, it's uncomfortable. My house is mainly electric heat, so I have shut off a lot of it because the generator can only handle so much. But in general, I know there are people worse off than I am, so I can't complain too much.
That rural broadband, a lot of work's gone into that. I'm glad to hear that you're able to keep that maintained. You're a farmer, Tyler. That's what you do. I know following our conversations over the last few years, it's been plenty dry out there. I mean, with all the immediate pain and annoyance of this, is there some optimism that came with this moisture?
There certainly is. I refuse to complain about any type of moisture after last year. This is less than ideal, but we welcome the moisture. I had been out in the field kind of running around with some tillage equipment 2 weeks ago, and it was remarkably dry. I was very, very concerned. And since then, we've had these 2 snowstorms along with the rain. So there's at least optimism there. Now, we're certainly behind schedule. I bet we're 2 weeks away from even thinking about it, and that's without any more precip. And I do see there's another system on its way. So, that's the next concern, is to go from not having any moisture to too much where we can't even get in the field. And we've got great prices right now, so we certainly want to get our crop planted.
Yeah, I've been saying this. We had a climatologist on the other day, and it's this pattern of feast or famine, to where you either get nothing or you get it all, and it's all within one big, gulp. And and he sounded optimistic that we haven't hit that real wet cycle, but I know all this comes down to timing for you out there. People are curious, western part of the state, what kind of crops are you thinking about this year?
So in general, I am going to plant a little bit of spring wheat and a lot of crops, soybeans, for example, that don't require much nitrogen because the fertilizer cost is so high. So that's my plan, and I think that in general you'll find most farmers kind of have the same plan. They're going to reduce their fertilizer requirements as much as they can, plant low nitrogen requirement crops like soybeans or peas or whatever, and hopefully we can actually make that happen here at some point.
Tyler Statzley, our guest, a farmer near Macodia, and there's probably people wondering, where in the world's Macodia? Give us a general description of where you're located.
Macodia is about 60 miles south and west of Minot, or 110 miles north of Bismarck. We were right on the edge of that storm where it was kind of rain snow mix right away, and I think we took almost the worst of it. I know the northwest part of the state took it pretty bad too, but I feel really sorry for the cattle producers in this area. I have a cousin that's lost some calves, and they're struggling. This is tough. A lot of these guys and gals have pushed back their calving time to this time of year because it's typically nicer. Well, they sure took it hard. Yeah, well, and that's one thing that we've been trying to keep our eye on as well. And because it's taken, as you say, it's taken days to get out. Well, it's taken days to get to where some of these calves may have been in their cattle. So our thoughts are definitely with them. Tough time, like you say. Many of them have made the adjustment to have that calving season late. Well, now it seems as though these systems have been pushed back
as though like spring has been pushed back by 2 months, and it's just frustrating. But we're thinking about them. Tyler, is there anything else you want to get out? Just a general update. Out here we got a lot of rain. We had a tornado warning. It's tough to even imagine in my mind how much snow has been delivered to you over the last 2 weeks. So final word goes to you, my friend.
Sure. Well, we appreciate you guys thinking about us, and if you have friends and family out here that you think might need some help, reach out to them. Maybe somebody needs a place to stay or needs a generator they don't have or whatever. But we appreciate the thoughts.
Well, I appreciate the update, man. You hang in there and you take care of yourselves and that family. All right.
Thanks, Tyler.
Yeah, we'll talk again soon. Tyler Stafsley, and he's a farmer out in Makota. You heard it. Could be up to 3 weeks. He's hoping that's pessimistic. But as we just had the conversation with the rural electric cooperatives, look, they're trying, and there's nobody that can question that. But you think about what's going to potentially happen between this week and next. Over the weekend, Too Tall Tom's going to get you that update here in about 30 minutes. So it's not going to be an easy recovery out there to get that power back up for a lot of the people that are just waiting, biding their time. 237-5948. That's the Lady Studio line. Text messages in 35270. That's the Act Consultants of North Dakota Text Club. I will get to those right after this. In just a little bit, we will be heading out to Castleton, continuing that conversation that we started here first on Afternoons Live about soybean plant. Going to happen? Do they have the votes now that there might be a supermajority required? We'll ask the Ryan Thorpes of the world. He's the Chief Operating Officer at Thoroldson Ethanol. That's coming up in just a little bit. You got to locked into KFGO Fargo. Stick around. If I recall, the Stone Temple Pilots, aren't they going to be at Blue Stem here this summer? Some iteration of that. Isn't it Hailstorm? And who else is going to be there? We talked about it. I think we advertised for it earlier. Could be way off, but I know Hailstorm is going to be there because people were all giddy about that. Not in quite the same genre, but I got some Neil Diamond tickets we're going to get from us to you a little bit later. Here's a question that I have for you. What genre do you put Neil Diamond in? I mean, is it folk? I mean, it's not really country, is it? Help me out, 35270. You're nodding back there because I'm right.
You are right.
Thank you. I needed to hear those words because there's people.
May 28th.
Wow.
Hailstorm with Stone Temple Pilots and Blackstone Cherry.
May 28th?
May 28th. Saturday.
Oh, it is a Saturday. I say that sounds like a date that I'm not allowed to go to that.
No, that is a date
day
you
after?
are absolutely
Okay.
allowed. I can't guarantee you're going to be in good shape to go to anything the next day.
Perhaps. You don't know.
I don't.
I still like to party, man.
That's why I said I can't guarantee it.
Can't guarantee, but maybe that's one that I'll put on my calendar for that Saturday. We'll get back to the Neil Diamond thing in a little bit because all you're going to have to do, there's already a lot of questions coming in. And for me, again, is the process that why so late? I think that perhaps it's vote counting because if you have had a chance to read the letter from Ryan Thorpe, who's going to be our guest in just a moment here. I mean, I can read it. It's like 3 sentences. This letter is informing me that Thoroldson Ethanol Plant, LLC, formally protests the proposed zoning change at tonight's planning and zoning meeting. Since we own more than 20% of the adjacent land per city zoning, and it's 40-47-05, it will require a supermajority vote, meaning 75% of the members of the governing body of the city. I will also be in attendance for tonight's meeting. So you got that coming from the chief operating officer at the Thoroldson Ethanol Plant out there. So, I mean, strategic, perhaps. I'm sure that there's people that have been opposed welcoming this, kind of like I did to the governor, saying, hey, why so late to the dance? But is it just the zoning? Is it about price? We're going to ask him about that and all these questions that you have sent in. I will try to ask those of Mr. Thorpe when we come back here. Also in the text club, somebody says Neil Diamond is soft rock. I think I could go with that. Because if we're doing our head-to-head, we already got Power Ballads as one. That was from yesterday's show. And I need that, and we're going to a Neil Diamond theme. So if soft rock or folk music, soft rock feels better. I'm putting that down on the list here. The other conversation that we're going to have in the final hour, and people have been, because I've been sprinkling it in here, because I want to accumulate these throughout the show. Biden's net approval rating, underwater in 40 states. Boy, if you're a Democrat running in the midterm, you're sweating this one, aren't you? But Morning Consult is an online data place. They've done stuff, a variety of things. And I think they're credible. I think they've proven their credibility over the course of the years that they've been in operation. At first, I was leery because you got this online thing. But quite frankly, polling the way it's done now is so different than what it used to be, where they'd pick up and they'd call your landline, right? I mean, people live on the internet. So some of the ways they compile, okay, I get it. But you can go through state by state and check about the net approval of Joe Biden, and you can see some really red spots on this map of 50 states. West Virginia has a net approval at negative 50. Okay, that is the worst. But you can go check out Wyoming. Net approval rating is down 47. And North Dakota, net approval rating of down 47. So we are tied in North Dakota for giving Joe Biden the worst net approval rating according to this poll. South Dakota, a little bit more favorable, negative 33. Minnesota, still a negative approval rating, -9. You're watching this, and if you're Governor Wallace, sure, you might have a lot of cash on hand as well. It's not something you want going into this midterm where you're going to have the voting bloc of the party that's not in control right now. They're hungry, and they're going to be voting, and they're going to be voting in droves likely. Now, there's probably some political scientists out there saying, their guy, meaning Donald Trump, he's not on the ballot. They're not going to show up. I'm not confident anymore on that. So compile it for me. 35270. Give me your reasons and be specific as to why in North Dakota it is so far underwater for this administration. Some of the messages that have come in have been about ruining North Dakota's economy, for example. Tyler, you asked why Biden's numbers are pretty bad. Easy to see why. Name something he has done right. You'll probably say infrastructure, but I haven't heard of one project even on the drain board yet. That is coming out. If I could point out one thing, that is the one thing. You know what also had to have that become a reality? Congress. How much do you pin on Congress versus this administration? We'll have that conversation in just a little bit. I'm Tyler Axis. This is KFGO Fargo.
That is expected on Sunday. Ranchers say moisture from recent scattered rains are a welcome addition, but nowhere near the amount needed to get South Dakota pastures back on track for normal production. The South Dakota Grassland Coalition is urging ranchers to plan ahead. A coalition board member says part of his drought plan included selling half of his herd over the last year. Almost 90% of the state remains in severe or moderate drought or abnormally dry. President Biden plans to speak at a memorial service in Minneapolis on Sunday for former Vice President Walter Mondale, who died last April at age 93. The president has described Mondale as a dear friend and mentor and one of the country's most dedicated patriots and public servants. Other speakers include Governor Walz, Senators Klobuchar and Smith, and presidential historian John Meacham. Admission to the service, which was delayed by the pandemic, is by invitation only, but it will be live-streamed. Fargo-Moorhead near 42, perhaps, for our high this afternoon. We have seen that sun break out. Partly cloudy, near 28 overnight. Tomorrow, partly sunny, 49. Clouds Thursday, chance of light rain, 52. 33 degrees, Paul Jurgens News Radio, KFGO.
Rusty Alverson back in the KFGO studio, back at it again,
Yes,
he
sir.
says.
Yes, sir.
What's the latest you got for me?
Well, the Senate Ag Committee today holding a hearing to review the Cattle Price Discovery and Transparency Act of 2022 and also the Meat and Poultry Special Investigator Act of 2022. Shelley Zish, owner-operator of the Zish Ranch near Pettibone, North Dakota, northwest of Jamestown. She was in Washington, D.C. today to testify on behalf of the legislation for the North Dakota Farmers Union and the National Farmers Union. Now, Shelley farms and ranches with her husband. Also have they've got a daughter and a son-in-law who are helping out now on the operation too. And a lot of the discussion was about future generations, fixing things now to make it better for the future. And so tomorrow, the House Ag Committee, they're going to have a bunch of CEOs from the meatpacking industry in D.C. So we will be keeping an eye on that one, too.
I'm hoping that somebody asks some pretty poignant questions.
Yeah.
Direct questions of those folks.
I'll bring you the hot stuff.
I'll be waiting for it. Can't wait. Rusty, appreciate it, man. We'll chat again tomorrow.
Yeah.
Tomorrow.
Yeah.
What time is it? Yeah, it's 3:36. Tuesday afternoon. Good to have you back, my friend.
All right. Thank you, Tyler.
Rusty Alverson, Sarah Heinrich. You want to check out more of their work? You go to kfgo.com. Just click on that agriculture tab. CBS National News now. When we come back, Ryan Thorpe. Let's talk about the Castleton ethanol plant. Thoroldson saying, yeah, we're not in favor of this soybean plant right next to us. We'll find out why right after this. the things I'm quite proud of here on After News Live is, when word was starting to shuffle around, being the first to really give an opportunity for those that are concerned in Castleton about the proposed soybean crushing plant to have a platform. Come on, explain what it is exactly that you're concerned about, the opposition to A, B, or C. If you missed that when we had the Concerned Citizens on a number of months ago, wherever you get your podcast, you can check that out and hear for yourself as to why. But there's been a new development, and this one comes from, a quite influential situation out there. Ryan Thorpe is the chief operating officer for Thurlton Ethanol. Now, if you're familiar with the area at all, you know where Castleton Line is, you know where that ethanol plant is. Well, right between the two is basically where they're talking about the soybean plant. And in addition to that, right before a meeting that took place about the zoning and what they can and cannot do. Here to talk about why they've come out in opposition is Ryan Thorpe, the chief operating officer. Ryan, welcome to Afternoons Live on KFGO. How are you?
Hey, good afternoon. Thanks for having me on.
Well, I appreciate you taking some time here. And I guess that's where I'm going to start is the timing of your letter coming out. It was brief. It was to the point. I respect that, certainly. But I'm just curious, why so late? Why right before the meeting? Was it something late in addition that said, all right, it's time to jump in? Just walk me through that mindset.
Well, certainly. Yes, and the reason that we waited right till the end is that we understand. My guys that deliver corn to me also grow soybeans. We are in favor of value-added ag. We're in favor of bringing more dollars to North Dakota, more dollars to the farmer. We're in favor of soybean processing plants. We're not objecting to the plant. I'm objecting to the location where it is proposed to be built. So that's the big difference. I had numerous meetings with the CGB group expressing our concerns and how that's going to negatively impact our business because it will change the planting mix because it's right next door. Let's say that it was 30 miles down the road, 40 miles down the road. I wouldn't have any objection. Just because it's right next door, it will change the mix because it mirrors exactly where we're going to have our draw area for our feedstock. And again, a lot of people don't know this. Mr. Thurlton invested $300 million when he built the plant back in 2008. Now, if you were to build this same plant today, it would be well over $500 million. In addition to that, we also have our own investments that are upcoming here over the next 4 years, and we are going to invest over $200 million in our facility to keep up with the changing times. We're getting a lot of competition from electric cars. We're getting a lot of competition from other alternative fuels. If we haven't hit peak gasoline demand, we're very close. So currently there are 214 ethanol plants in the United States. Let's fast forward about 15 years. We really feel that number is going to be closer to 100 than it is 200. So any extra hurdles that we see here on the horizon that we can object to and get out of the way now, we're doing that. So I had many meetings with CGB, and I had some proposals for them, a solution that would fix my problems, and they declined. And I checked with them again on Thursday and Friday late last week, and literally I can show the emails where I said, hey, guys, I need to know where you stand because that will determine which side of the fence that I'm on for a meeting on Monday. So I did wait until 3:30 before I submitted that letter. Again, I did not want to do that. My guys, again, I don't want to upset my farmers that deliver me corn because they also grow soybeans.
Right.
But in the best interest of our plant, that's why I had to submit that objection.
Well, and one of the things that I found interesting having the conversation when I was made aware of this development, I said, well, look, I mean, you've got soybean. If you're growing corn, the chances are soybeans is in a field right over. And I was saying that's still got to be the case. I had pushback on that, saying, well, that was the case. That's not necessarily how it is now. I hear you saying that it is still the case. I mean, you've got corn, you got soybeans, and you know what? You got the same owner of that land. So that I just want to clarify for those that are listening that we're in disagreement. I was right, Ryan?
and yes, and yeah. Here's a prime example. So there's an ethanol plant that's located in Spiritwood. There's an ethanol plant located in Hankinson. I can count on one hand over the last 5 years how many times I've had to go head to head with them trying to source corn. Same thing with the new plant that's getting built by ADM in Spiritwood. It's far enough away, it will have zero impact. Well, I shouldn't say zero. It'll have a very, very minor impact on us, to the point where if it was 40 miles down the road, I would have zero objections to it, and I would be cheering them on.
Well, and that leads to some of the messages I've got, because like I said, Ryan, we've been talking about this since the Concerned Citizens group formed a number of months ago. And I'll read this one for you, and I'll let you address it, because it's about the distance. Tyler, would you ask Mr. Thorpe when he is on, at what distance from Thoroldson he is entitled to all acres, so he doesn't have to change his corn bid? I would like to know a specific distance from the plant so I can know who owns my corn acreage. Comes in from a listener. I'll let you get a chance to address that.
Well, and again, it's just changing the mix. And I did the research with the help of some friends. And here's the city zoning ordinances. We happen to own a majority of the land adjacent to the proposed site, because literally it's right across the road from us. And then I own land that's closer to town as well for railroad tracks and so forth. So, and again, I did not want to write this letter. But unfortunately, I had to. I have a solution that would also help move that facility further from Castleton, where they could gain another half mile under my thoughts and my ideas, and change some roads and move some land around. We happen to own quite a bit of land right around the proposed site, but my proposal / offer was declined.
I'm curious the process that you had to undertake, albeit a number of years ago, because that's what I keep coming back to, whether it's about the soybean plant here. There's another, speaking of corn up in Grand Forks, God, the process doesn't seem like it was done the right way. Is what's going on right now a similar process that you and the Thoroldson Ethanol had to undertake with the city of Castleton?
It is, but it's different. We started there. Our first meetings were with the town folks, the people that are right here. We didn't start our meetings out in Bismarck, and we didn't go to the governor first. We started right here in the town, because this is where we were going to be and operated. So we had those meetings, right up front. We were very, very transparent from day one, how we went about it. And we talked to the city, we talked to the township, we talked to the county, because where our land falls, it's under all three jurisdictions. So we do have some land that's in the ET zone of the city. We have some land that's in the township's jurisdiction, and then also some land that's in the county's jurisdiction. So we were up front and talked to them all right off the bat, and got everybody involved and got their input, and used that input to, again, have the proper distance from town. We're roughly 2 miles outside of town, to help give you space, so that we're not intruding on anybody in the town. And again, there was no other processing facilities out here at the time. We were the first.
Ryan Thorpe is our guest, the COO, Thoroldson Ethanol near Castleton. And the brief letter that you had sent to the mayor, you said that there's a requirement of a supermajority, 75% of the vote. Now, I know last night was the zoning. There was a vote of 5-4. When the 75% requirement, was that for the zoning, or is that for the general city council?
That is for the governing body. That's why I referenced it in the letter.
Okay. Yeah.
Last night's vote was planning and zoning, but it was a recommendation that will go to the city council for next Monday's meeting.
Very good.
Next Monday, the way that I understand it, is that they will need 5 of the 6 votes for this to pass to change the zoning laws.
Do you have the votes? Because to me, when I know, just visiting with the citizens of Castleton, because they have not shied away from reaching out and with their frustrations, albeit whether it's for the school district, whether it's for taxes, whether it's about smell odors, every issue. And I appreciate those residents reaching out. There's a lot of passion about this. I'm just curious, have you been in contact? Do you think that your side will prevail?
I am not sure. I have made some phone calls today to find that out. But literally, like I said, I did not want to send this letter out So prior to yesterday, I had not contacted any of the city council members to see where they stand. But now I will this week, so I am not sure how everything's going to go down.
A final question I have for you before I do let you go, and I certainly appreciate your time here, Ryan, is you mentioned that you've offered alternatives to these groups. If the city of Castleton says, no, we don't have the required votes here, do your offers still stand if they're still interested in this area, or is that now off the table as well?
Nope. That offer still stands. Absolutely. What Mr. Tharaldson has taught me in my 16 years is it's only business. It's nothing personal. And again, that's one thing that he always emphasizes is that we're just looking out for our business interests. And absolutely, I would still I shook their hands before the meeting last night, and I would gladly have a meeting with them to discuss my offer / proposal this week before the meeting.
Very good. Ryan, anything else before I let you go? I have no doubt that next week following this vote, you and I will be having a conversation again if you allow that. But final word goes to you before I let you go.
No, I just appreciate you letting me have a little time here just to have some clarity. And I appreciate that, getting the word out that we're not against, any processing or value-added ag. We are simply objecting to where the location of the proposed site is.
Very good. Ryan, you take care. We'll be following along, and we'll chat again soon, all right?
Okay, thanks a lot.
All right, thank you. Ryan Thorpe, he is the COO of Tharaldson Ethanol out there. What'd you hear? You agree, you disagree? You can let me know at 35270. I hear a pattern from those that are concerned, not opposed to the project, opposed to the location. Now, we've heard that from the citizens, the residents. Now you're hearing that from the ethanol plant that's right next door as well. The other thing that stood out to me when I asked, is it a process thing? Did you have to go through? Did you note the approach that has been vastly different for these two projects? And that's something I keep coming back to. The process has been wrong for these three projects. Now we can count them three that we've talked about here. We'll come back to that after this KFGO weather update from Too Tall Tom. You, me, this microphone, your cell phone, the whole final hour. Get it off your chest. I'm here for you. I'm Tyler Axness. This is KFGO Fargo. I was given a correspondence from Ryan Thorpe to the mayor. Was all of a sudden it was as though some farmers out there thought that, well, they're against farmers. I did not hear that whatsoever. That's why I asked the question. If you're providing an alternative, does it still stand if the city comes back and says, you know what, right here is not the right spot? To hear yes, I think nips that right in the bud. We'll come back to this conversation. Biden's approval. Oh, and I got Neil Diamond tribute tickets coming up in the final hour of After News Live. This is KFGO Fargo. So now, would you put this in the same category, the same genre of some of the later Neil Diamond? Well, I mean, somebody says it's soft rock. Is it folk music? This feels like it's got the right groove, the same feel to some of maybe the showmanship of the Neil Diamond. I think I'd put, so if we put power ballads versus whatever genre we categorize as Neil Diamond, I would put the song in as a part of that group. It's got the same groove, man.
It's got to have some carryover to like the yacht rocky radio rock of the 70s. It's got kind of a groove, a little bit of a disco, little pop, a little disco feel to it. Not aggressively, but just a little influence.
Just a hint of just a sprinkle, like a dash, a pinch of pop. We're going to give you an opportunity. I've got a pair of tickets. I Am He said, a celebration of Neil Diamond. That's going to be taking place at the Fargo Theater this Saturday, April 30th. Doors open at 7, 8 p.m. is when the show starts. I'll tell you how these tickets can be yours right after this KFGO News.
KFGO News, partly sunny, Fargo-Moorhead 34. I'm Paul Juergens. An oil worker from Dickinson says he will challenge Senator John Hoeven in the Republican primary. Riley Kuntz has filed the paperwork to appear on the June 14th ballot. Hoeven was endorsed during the party convention earlier this month, turning back a challenge from State Representative Rick Beckler of Bismarck. Kuntz says he was an active member of Audit the Swamp and a delegate of the 2018 Republican convention. He says he supports limited government, favors limited taxation and spending, and is against abortion. Democrats have endorsed Katrina Christensen, a University of Jamestown engineering professor. The South Dakota Senate has approved the rules for an impeachment trial of the Attorney General for his conduct after a deadly car pedestrian collision. The Senate will hold a 2-day trial in June. Attorney General Jason Ravnsborg was impeached by the House. He killed a pedestrian, but initially said he may have struck a deer or other large animal. The trial will start June 21st. Ravnsborg says he is looking forward to the Senate trial as a chance to be vindicated. Reporter Susie Jones says Attorney General Keith Ellison is suing 4 solar panel companies based in Utah who he contends scammed and deceived Minnesotans.
Sarah Hutchinson is one of dozens of Minnesotans who was victim of the scam. She says she responded to an email that appeared to be from Xcel Energy asking if she was interested in solar panels. She said yes, and 2 days later, a salesperson arrived at her home, delivering an intense and hard sales pitch. She ended up signing a contract unknowingly and tried to get out of it, finally telling the salesperson,
look, we've already started off poorly here, and I think I'm just going to stop my interaction with you. And he basically said, oh, okay, well, then we'll just sue you for 15% of the fee.
Minnesota House Democrats have made an offer to Senate Republicans to try to break a year-long stalemate over refilling the unemployment insurance fund. The bill would take part of the budget surplus, the amount Republicans want, to put money back in the fund and delay business tax increases. There would also be a $1 billion for frontline worker COVID bonuses, giving those eligible a $1,500 check. Partly cloudy, Fargo-Moorhead. We look for an overnight low of about 28. Tomorrow near 49, partly sunny. Wind picks up out of the east-southeast though. Clouds Thursday, chance of light rain 52. A rain chance also for Friday 54. Windy Saturday, occasional rain 50. And light rain expected on Sunday. Areas of light rain at least, and 44. Partly sunny 35. Paul Juergens, News Radio KFGO.
I don't care how young you are. Your hips are swinging a little bit. The Neil Diamond. We're going to celebrate him on Saturday. As Jade presents, I Am, he said, a celebration of Neil Diamond. That's taking place Saturday, April 30th. That's this Saturday, already the 30th, end of April. Fargo Theater, 7 p.m., doors open. 8 p.m. show. All ages, because he's timeless, right? Neil Diamond? He is still with us, right? I have not verified. Yeah, Neil Diamond, I think, is still with us.
I think he is. I think he's in his early 80s, 81, 82, somewhere in that range.
He can still. There is one song that Neil Diamond plays. If I never heard it again, I'd be fine. I would sleep just fine. And
His
unfortunately, I
guessing.
hear it every time we go to like Frisco, Texas. And it's a staple at the Fargo Dome. And some of you still jump for joy after hearing it time and time again. You can finish what song it is because I dare not utter the title of that song. But I would sit through it during the celebration of Neil Diamond. Now, here's what I want from you. I'm going to play, we play Audibles Thursdays. That's brought to you by Don's Car Wash. And you know what? We're going to do that all over again Thursday at 4 o'clock at this very time on Thursday. You can put a smile on your car and on your face. So in that spirit of naming what that audio clip is from, I'm going to play you about a minute worth of audio of the category movie right now. And I see the phone lines are lighting up. You already know the rules. Very good for you regular listeners at 237-5948. You call in, and if you can name the movie, they got worried. They got scared. If you can name the clip of what movie this is from, you'll get these tickets. And now you're calling back in. Now I feel like I got to wait for Eric Johnson to get you on air, but you can line them up because maybe this person doesn't get them. 237-5948. That is all you got to call. And then if you name what movie this sound clip is from, you will go to the Neil Diamond. This is me tiptoeing around here waiting for all these phone lines to get put on as Eric Johnson is answering them. Neil Diamond is, again, that genre that I'm trying to figure out. Somebody said it's a rare Mac Davis genre. B.J. Thomas. I have no idea the first name of what you were calling in. These people are getting worried. They don't want to go on air or what?
It's been a little bit of a clown show over on this end. One guy hung up as soon as I asked for his name. Another one said he was on his car phone and he couldn't hear the clips.
Okay. I see Doug's on hold. Yep, Doug, you stay there. Because I'm playing this clip. And as others are calling in right now, if I have to play it again, so be it. All you have to do, Doug, I'm coming to you first, and I'll get you on air after I play this clip. This category is movie, and if you can tell me what movie this sound is from, you're going. I'm going to turn on that audio once I get acknowledgement from Eric. Here it is.
But we all have one mystical thing in common, our love for Neil. That's our band, Diamonds in the Rough.
She got the way to move me, cheery. She got the way to move me. She got the way to move me, cheery, baby. She got the way to move me.
Now you can tell if you're a regular listener, that is from my soundboard that I had RIT guy Carl make because I was very generous with the portions of the sound, unlike the game audibles. I'm going to get to Doug, who's been patiently waiting. Doug, how are you on this Tuesday afternoon?
I'm doing well.
Very good. Can I make you a little bit better? Can you tell me what movie that audio clip is from, Doug?
Well, I was hoping something from a jazz singer, but I didn't get that. I don't know. I'll have to pass on this one.
All right, Doug, I appreciate it. Well, thanks for calling in. And boy, don't rub it in, man. That's not my soundboard, Doug. I'm not that cruel. I wanted you to win the tickets to the celebration of Neil Diamond. I'm going to get to Sid. Sid, thanks for calling. How are you?
Peachy. How about you?
I'm doing well. I want to make you a happy man. Did you get a chance to hear that audio clip?
I did, and I have no clue.
Ah, shit. Okay. Well, try again. 237-594. I could go to the text club because there's 1,000 winners in there. If one of you simply called me at 237-594, there, you're taking the bait. I want to hear your voice. I'm tired of hearing myself talk today. I've got all these people texting, and I don't care. If the boss hears you calling in and you're at the office, don't worry. Tell me you're winning tickets on KFGO, man. I'm going to get back to the phone lines because they are blowing up. I'm going to visit with Lance. Lance, how are you today?
Doing very well. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. I hope you had a chance to listen to that audio clip, Lance.
I did.
Can you give me the correct answer, Lance?
I believe that is Saving Silverman.
It is Saving Silverman, Lance. Congratulations. You and a friend or a spouse, I don't care who, as long as you use both these tickets. You going to be good to go Saturday, April 30th?
Absolutely, should be.
All right, Lance, I'm getting you on hold. You got it right, my friend. Thanks for calling in. Correctly, Saving Silverman. Great underrated movie. You want to hear the synopsis for those that have never listened or watched? Saving Silverman. Of course, you just heard the band that they played. Two dim-witted former high school buddies and Neil Diamond fanatics, Wayne and JD, plot to keep their friend Darren from marrying the wrong woman, a domineering and spiteful psychologist named Judith, by kidnapping her and trying to set Darren up with his old high school girlfriend Sandy, who plans to become a nun. If you haven't watched, I'd encourage you, clearly. Lance, clearly a lot of you in the text club have as well. If somebody goes, that's what Nacho. It is. Thank you. The reference. Timeless movie. Check it out if you have not. Actually, there are a lot of people saying that it is a funny movie. It is. Tyler, the song you're referring to, I told you I didn't want to utter this, but I will for you. The song you're referring to is Sweet Caroline. Nothing worse than listening to a karaoke audience sing ba, ba, ba. Now imagine 19,000 people in a Fargo Dome doing exactly that. Or if you have been able and fortunate to join me down at the Wild Pitch, where we broadcast live every trip we get down to Frisco, which I want to thank them for allowing me to bring some of those sounds to you. You've heard it 3 times an hour. And then the later on in the evening, you can add one more time because somebody just keeps refreshing, and then replay and replay. Bison, I love you. I love the team. Fans sometimes, even though I'm one of you. You've ruined this song for me.
By about 10:30, you're in a rotation of this.
Thunderstruck,
and if you're going to play in Texas.
If you're going to play in Texas, and God bless Texas. Mm-hmm. Thank God I'm a country boy. You really have narrowed it down to 5 songs on repeat for like 5 nights in a row. Don't do this to me. Oh, wait, there's more. You said it. You know, this reminds me of a conversation I was having with the old lady. There. Send in all your angry texts about me calling the significant other the old lady again. That's fine. She doesn't care. You do. For whatever reason. I have not been able to piece that together. There was a song that came on the radio as we were driving into town on a Saturday afternoon. That was before the tornado warning. And it came on. And what one would say was probably irrationally upset about it, just completely hated that song. She looked at me. She goes, you know what? What's one song that you never, ever want to hear again because you get upset hearing it? This isn't the song I said, but it's up there. It's close up there.
I think I've had enough time in between, but for a large portion of the last 5 years, it was Africa by Toto.
Oh, no.
I heard it so much at the other job.
I want to hear from you. Send in the one song that you never, ever want to hear again in your entire life because it is just so bad. It just makes you irrationally mad. You want to know what it is for me? Kid Rock.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Kid Rock's
all summer long.
Yeah, all summer long. If I ever hear Kid Rock's all summer long, that's why I remember when we're talking about the Minot State Fair. It's like, oh, Ja Rule's going to be there, or not Ja Rule. I'm not going to Ja Rule. He's still doing that Fire Fest.
You probably would go to Ja Rule. Let's be honest.
No, Ja Rule did it to himself. Nelly's going to be at the Minot State Fair. And I said, I'm going to Nelly before I would go to Kid Rock. And it's all because of All Summer Long. I never, ever want to hear that song in my life again. Your songs are coming into 35270. I'll come back to those. There's one already in here that blows my mind that is your song that you never want to hear again. Because it's a great song. I'll come back to that. We'll share it. I'll have a little bit of fun on the final 40 minutes of Afternoons Live on a Tuesday afternoon. I'm Tyler Raxus. Stick around. wear your team's attire. I almost said Vikings attire, but we're not all Vikings fans, aren't we? We're going to be on down there, but I also want to remind you that, you know what, in a couple weeks, a week from Sunday, I do believe, Mother's Day. Get it down. KFGO's Messages for Mom is brought to you by Carol Widman's Candy, Hair Success Salon and Spa, the Mendak Market. You can go there and buy gifts, but you can also give the gift of your message played right here on KFGO. All you got to do is call and leave a message. Write this one down, folks. 701-446-8151. You're going to be welcomed by Amy and JJ, and then you can leave your message, and we'll play it right here on KFGO. CBS National News, more Afternoons Live right after this.
Okay, but what you need is you need the
One of the perks of having this job and getting a chance to visit with all of you, whether it's about politics, news, sports, music, every now and then, one of you will send something in because a lot of you, I mean, primarily all of you choose to use the text club at 35270. That's why I thank the Ad Consultants of North Dakota. I get it. I'm a texter. If somebody's calling me, there better be a good reason. That's my personal. But, of course, we encourage you to call at 237-5948. But reading some of these, every now and then you'll send something in that will stick with me the rest of my life. And I know it the moment I read it. I told you about one of them the other day when we were playing CCR. Or no, we were playing, Jimi Hendrix. And it was Excuse Me While I Kiss This Guy. in the misheard and misunderstood lyrics that we did years ago. This is my 4th year now. First year, I guess, of doing 3 hours that I get to spend with you. But that has stuck with me ever since that moment. Now, every time I hear Purple Haze, I think of that misheard lyric. And now there's this one. And I don't know, these conversations get molded into wherever you take it at times. This open format. That it's your platform. It's KFGO is yours. We start off by talking about songs you never want to hear again. And that's molded into just artists it seems like you don't like. Tyler, anything by Kiss. They are the Insane Clown Posse of the 1970s. And I will never, ever in the rest of my life think about Kiss without equating that to the Insane Clown Posse from the early 2000s. Are they still around? If you do the Google
ICP, are they still around?
I have no. Yeah,
I think they so. Just don't they do the?
I think they hung it up. I think one of them was diagnosed with something.
No more gathering of the Juggalos?
Well, there can still be those gatherings, but not with the headliners of ICP, the Insane Clown Posse. Thank you.
The sales of their soda, which I still don't know if we can say on FCC radio.
Oh, then you better not try, because I would be the one in trouble. My name's on the show.
But anyone who knows. The sales of their soda are going to plummet.
Duma texted, you're welcome. That every time. And the thing is, I enjoy most of Kiss songs. I do not need to hear, Rock and Roll All Night ever again. But Detroit Rock City, yeah, you bet. You cranked that one up to 11 for me. But thank you. Duma, I appreciate it. That will be ingrained probably with the rest of the listeners as well. Never thought about it that way. Other songs that you said, Picture by Kid Rock and Sheryl Crow. Count me in. Scratch it off. Throw the record away.
Boy, if you ever
just
find
like you
yourself
that picture away
at a Kid Rock show and he plays that and
back to back,
all summer long back to back, you might leave.
I better already have been in my pickup by the time those two songs hit. You give me Bow at the Ball. You give me American BA.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the other earlier stuff, all right, I can be there. But you start throwing in Picture and all summer long, let's inadvertently start a mosh pit because I'd be so upset. No more Kid Rock. That's enough. Tyler Wright said, Fred, I'm Too Sexy is the worst song ever. Bad song, worst song ever. I'm not quite there. Tyler, anything by ELO? See, again, that you have created now two separate conversations here. We have songs you never want to hear again and artists you despise. And the one that has repeatedly come up, which blows my mind, is REO Speedwagon. Multiple texts, REO Speedwagon. I don't understand. Why is it? I mean, we play...
Yeah,
we choose.
Roll with the Changes is a classic afternoon.
We voluntarily play REO because we enjoy. I thought you were all in this with us. Now ELO, I hope you're not missing out on audibles because that is like ours. To the mother that stopped by, I was at Dawn's Car Wash. She sponsors audibles on Friday. So that when you hear ELO, that you stop everything. I'm on your side on this one, not with the texter that's saying anything by them. 237-5948. That's the Laney studio line. All these texts coming in to 35270. Tyler, I DJ karaoke. Picture is a weekly staple. I would love to have a conversation with DJ karaoke. There used to be a DJ bar in town, West Fargo. Had a great time. Well, no, they're not. The Divas and Rockstars. We can all just acknowledge it.
Yeah, it doesn't exist anymore.
The last place that I had a fishbowl, and there's a good reason for that. But I could about imagine if you were a bartender at a karaoke bar, the number of times you heard the same song in a night, because you would have just probably the regulars, and we work with a couple of regulars that used to go over there. Paul Einstein, our beloved Bob Harris used to go sing karaoke. Maybe not there, but I know they did karaoke all the time. Those are good karaoke singers. But you have someone like me show up. I'm not doing all these songs, trust me. But you have my crew show up, you're going to probably be, oh my God.
Right.
One, you've had too many fishbowls in that crew. And two, you're playing all the songs, singing all the songs that everyone else wants to sing, and I can't stand it.
My experience working at a bar that had a karaoke night about quarterly and then drifted to more like maybe twice a year, you get about 1 out of 10 good singers. Maybe. On a good night, it's 1 out of 10.
Okay, again, you're just sending in now artists. Linkin Park. I've got a Linkin Park and Divas and Rock Stars story for you, my friend. I have a friend who thought he could sing Linkin Park in the end. Now, if you're familiar with Linkin Park in the end, there's a lot of shouting, prolonged shouting. Do not play it right now. Please don't play it. But needless to say, his confidence level and his ability to deliver, they were nowhere near on that level playing field. And the crowd knew it. But he held that microphone as though he was Axl Rose in Guns N' Roses, the way he clenched on that thing, and he leaned into it, and he had that back arched. It was terrible. Justin, the world has not forgotten. And the crowd that was there that night has been scarred. And perhaps this individual was there that night, and that's why they don't want to ever hear Linkin Park again. 237-594. All these songs, I'll get back to all these. I got to get you this weather update from Too Tall Tom Schmansky. I'll see what's coming up on the drive. Jack Sunday is going to be steering you right into Twins baseball. They're taking on the Tigers. They're at home taking on the Tigers of Detroit. We'll hear Chris Atterbury take over these airwaves at 6 p.m. right here on your home for Twins baseball, KFGO.